The Day After, a movie where an atomic bomb is dropped on the residents of Lawrence, Kansas and Kansas City, Missouri in the mid-1980s, a time when nuclear war was to be feared and is to be feared today. Of course, it's less likely nowadays. People have learned the consequences of nuclear weapons. Most nations have banned it. Most. However, today I want to talk about the movie The Day After. The movie came out on November 20th, 1983, and I saw the movie in 2011. It was one of the VHS tapes my dad owned, and it was one of the only films we were able to see after the Joplin tornado that occurred May 22nd, 2011. The movie was frightening. Looking at those giant jellyfish rise up into the air and kill everyone is not ideal. As I got older, I just knew that they weren't jellyfish, but instead mushroom clouds, which are still scary. Other than the cheesy effects, the movie paints a good lesson. Nuclear weapons are bad. The movie follows a regular day in 1983, as the possibility of war is on the brink. But that's okay. In all honesty, I only saw the explosion and the aftermath and even forgot some parts of the film because my age wasn't even like double digits. But since I watched the whole 2 hours and 7 minutes of the movie now, I can explain it better. It first takes place after NATO forces breaks down a blockade between West and East Germany during the war. Airman First Class Billy McCoy is stationed at the base, giving out the alert, while a farm that is near the launch site, owned by the Hendry family, is there. And McCoy is stationed 20 miles away from Kansas City, Missouri. The Hendry family and McCoy are both unrelated to each other. The Dahlberg family lives on the farm while their daughter is about to be married. They are located 40 miles away from the launch site in Harrisonville, Missouri. The next day, the conflict escalates quickly, and NATO forces detonates nuclear weapons to stop the Soviet Union's advance into West Germany. Dr. Russell Oakes is a teacher heading to teach a class at the University of Kansas.
Channels, put on some raunchy music.
What has gotten into you?
What, you don't like my ideas?
I love your ideas.
While a pre-med student, Stephen Klein, hears what's going on in Europe and decides to hitchhike to Joplin, Missouri. Many people begin to leave the area as tension rises, causing traffic jams at the same time. Dr. Oakes rethinks about going to the University of Kansas to teach about medicine, and he realizes the danger he and his family are in as he hears the emergency broadcast system, as the emergency broadcast system would play frequently over the radio and television in the film.
Construction of Wiesbaden and the outskirts of Frankfurt.
This is the emergency broadcast system. All persons in transit in the Kansas City metropolitan area are advised to shelter.
After minutes have passed, Billy launches the Minuteman missiles, and in the film they intentionally make it unclear who fired first, the Soviet Union or the United States. Billy then flees the launch site to go seek out his family. Multiple nuclear weapons are detonated all around, sending high electromagnetic pulses. Disabling anything electrical around, including vehicles and the electrical power grid. And then there's a flash. The blast kills and destroys everything, but an exception to some main characters. The Hendry family is completely obliterated, ignoring the warning signs about the panic and carrying on with the wedding. McCoy takes shelter inside the truck trailer while Dr. Oakes experiences the blast firsthand in his car.
What did you see?
I was on the freeway. About 30 miles away.
Klein at this point has made it as far as Harrisonville, Missouri, and begs for shelter in the Dahlberg's basement. Nuclear fallout and its effects are spread everywhere, while people don't know the dangers of radiation yet.
I don't know anything about radiation.
What's radiation?
Denise Dahlberg runs outside, having gone crazy, staying in the basement for days. Klein goes outside to go get her back, but in that very moment, they have been exposed to high amounts of radiation.
It's going through you like an X-ray. Right into your cells. What do you think killed all these animals?
McCoy then realizes that he cannot be treated anywhere else after roaming around the town and looking for help, and later dies from radiation poisoning. Klein takes Denise and her little brother, who was blinded by the blast, to a hospital in Lawrence, Missouri, but unfortunately they can't be medically treated for their injuries.
God upon their foreheads, counted among God's servants. We give thanks to thee, O Lord God Almighty, for rewarding thy servants and those who fear thy name, both great and small.
Jim Dahlberg, who is now returning home from a municipal meeting, finds squatters on the farm. After he tells them to leave his farm, he gets shot with no hesitation. Dr. Oakes, who is now aware that he is dying from radiation poisoning, walks home to Kansas City to see the ruins of his home, accompanied by squatters. He attempts to drive him off, but instead is offered food. Dr. Oakes then collapses and weeps as we hear no contact with anyone on a shortwave radio that is being operated by the head science faculty, Joe Huxley. At this very moment, this message appears on screen.
Anybody at all?
The dangers of nuclear weapons should not be ignored. Looking at the film now, it's pretty scary. There is a virtual reality simulation of what it looked like to be in Hiroshima when the first atomic bomb was dropped in World War II on August 6, 1945. A woman described what she saw when she was at that very moment. She said that she saw people that appeared to be carrying rags and blankets, but were actually the skin melting off.
I thought they were holding something, or the rag or something, but that was really skin.
Some lucky ones were just vaporized right on the spot with no pain. At first, I thought to myself how unlikely it was to see other people's skeletons during the blast, but it turns out it's true. Old World War II veterans described how it was witnessing the test of the nuclear bombing before it was dropped in Hiroshima. They even claimed that they saw their own blood vessels.
Process of hands over your eyes, you saw every bone in your hand.
If I was looking at you now, I would see all your bones. You would see all the blood vessels. And
imagine how scary that would be, especially when you only see that kind of stuff in sci-fi movies. Albert Einstein gave the idea to build the atomic bomb to the US in fear that Germany may be constructing it already during World War II. No one knew the complete effects of the atomic bomb during that time, but now we know, and hope that no one ever has to witness that same fate again.